What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for coming by and checking out what I have going on. But before we get into this video, I really feel like I need to apologize for the lack of content on the YouTube channel and the Instagram account. I have been up to a lot of things behind the scenes. A lot of those things are related to the Comanche and the XJ build, which I'm super excited to show you guys over the next few videos. But until then, here's a little sneak peek into what I've been up to. I also want to thank all of you who have subscribed to the channel, that have commented, that have liked the videos. It's super motivating to see that you guys are all enjoying the videos, and it helps me to stay motivated, to get out there and work on the projects and get more content out to you guys. Also, if you're new here, don't hesitate to subscribe, like, comment. It definitely helps out the YouTube algorithm to get this video out to more people. Anyways, in this video, we're going to be talking about a topic that I feel is super important, that I'm constantly seeing on Facebook group forums, XJ forums, and it is something that my XJ is in need of, and that is better fuel economy. So let's get the XJ pulled in, and we will get to wrenching and going over this topic that I feel is something that will benefit everybody. So now that I have the XJ pulled in the garage, let's talk about what we are going to be doing to it today. So today I'm going to be going over 3 proven ways that we can increase the fuel economy in a Jeep XJ, especially one like mine that has the 4.0 in it. But this goes for all XJs and all engine variants. So just don't think that because you don't have a 4.0 that these things don't apply to you. They definitely do. So these XJs are old. They need a lot of attention, a lot of TLC, and one of those things is performing routine maintenance. You know, if you want to have good fuel economy, but you have a check engine light and you have massive exhaust leaks, those things are going to be working against you and you're never going to have good fuel economy. So in this first step here, we are going to be doing an oil change on the XJ. It's about 5,000 miles since the last one. So let's get this oil drained and let's do that oil change. So I'm sure you're wondering what my current miles per gallon is in my Jeep XJ. As of right now, my XJ gets 11.8 miles per gallon. So what can we expect for fuel economy in a Jeep XJ? A brand new 1996 Jeep XJ was advertised at 15 miles per gallon in the city and 19 miles per gallon on the highway. So in my situation, I definitely know there's some room for improvement, but you always got to remember there are other things that are going to be fighting against you. The things I'm referring to are modifications. If your Jeep XJ is stock, then you have nothing to worry about. But in my situation, mine is far from stock. So things like bigger tires, lift kits, different axle gearing, weight of any of the gear you're carrying, all of these things will fight against you when it comes to having good fuel economy. So my realistic goal for my XJ is to hopefully get 1 or 2 more miles per gallon. Since my XJ is heavily modified, I would be happy with that outcome. Okay, so now that I got the general maintenance done, the oil change, topping up all the fluids, checking the tire pressures, it's time to move on to a maintenance item that isn't done as frequently as, say, an oil change, but is equally as important to the fuel economy in the 4.0. So the maintenance item that I'm referring to is spark plugs, which that leads us into the second way that we can increase the fuel economy in our Jeep XJs. So spark plugs, I feel, are a common item to overlook. We're always like, oh, hey, the Jeep runs, it starts, it drives, it's fine. But in all reality, those spark plugs need to be replaced on a regular service interval, say 30,000, 50,000 miles, whatever your preference is, but they shouldn't be overlooked. So in my situation, I replaced my spark plugs in 2019 when I rebuilt this engine, but since then I've developed a severe fuel injector leak, which I am sure that fuel injector or multiple fuel injectors have carbon fouled the spark plugs and they are no longer performing like they should. Also, my Jeep runs rough in the morning. You can smell fuel out in the tailpipe. They need to be replaced. So let me show you what I got and we'll get into it. I'm not sure if my fuel injectors are original. My Jeep has 320,000 miles on it. I sure hope these aren't the original ones, but regardless, they need to be replaced. It is pretty common that these one-hole injectors leak or go bad or get clogged and cause misfire issues. So there is tons of aftermarket support, and one that really stands out as being budget friendly are the ones from Case Suspension. So these are their upgraded 4-hole injectors, Bosch injectors, that they remanufacture. They have tons of great reviews and have been proven to be very reliable. So the spark plugs that I'm going to pair with these new fuel injectors are also Bosch. These should be a good replacement spark plug, and they should get the job done. So let's get the camera set up for a time lapse and we'll get all this stuff replaced. Okay, so I got the spark plugs all replaced. That's a pretty easy job on these 4.0s, pretty straightforward. But I got the spark plugs sitting right here. I'll put a more detailed picture of the spark plugs on the screen so you can see, and then also a picture of how to read the spark plugs, because it can be difficult. They all look like spark plugs, right? But I think number 4 is where my leaking fuel injector was. You can see how the base of the spark plug right there is a lot more covered in soot and carbon. So I think that's where my leaking fuel injector was. But anyways, let's get these fuel injectors out and we'll take a look at those as well. So when you're on the quest for better fuel economy, it's super important to think about the rest of the fuel system. Like, when was the last time your fuel filter was replaced? Do you even know? Or is your fuel pump original from factory? How is your injector wiring harness looking? What about your air filter? Is it clean? Good spark, a clean, free-flowing air filter, and a fuel system performing optimally is the best recipe you can have for good fuel economy. So the new fuel injectors are all installed. You can see here the old ones. Look at that one. Pretty rusty. So I am thinking these are the original ones that had 320,000 miles on it. So I'm glad I got those all replaced. Super easy. It took about 30 minutes. So Case Suspension says that after you replace these, it's important to reset the PCM, and they kind of outline a procedure. So we're going to actually verify to see if this works. So I got my scan tool all hooked up in here so we can see that all of the emissions stuff is all green right now. We are going to confirm that what they say resets the PCM, that it actually does work. So we are going to do that real quick, and we'll reconnect the scan tool and see if what they say actually works. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is disconnect the battery. Then touch the negative and positive cables together for 30 seconds. This will effectively de-energize all capacitors in the electrical system. Then reconnect the battery. All right, so next up, what they say to do is turn on the key, but don't start it. So ignition on, turn on the light, turn off the lights, and then turn the key off again. So what they said is that will reset the PCM and start it in a learning cycle for the next 50 key cycles. Okay, so now that we reset the PCM like K Suspension said and followed their procedure, I connected my scan tool back up just to see and confirm. And you can see there, see the red blinking emission monitor status. So that means that it did in fact reset the PCM and that it now needs a drive cycle in order to get all those emission monitor statuses ready again. So anyways, now it's time to get everything buttoned up and go for a test drive. So you know how I was just saying how important it is to know if your fuel system is in good operating condition? Well, I just ran into an issue with mine and you might have the same problem. So the issue that I'm talking about is with the fuel injector connectors. So I'll put a picture up on the screen to better illustrate what I'm talking about. But all of my fuel injector connectors, none of them had the metal clips on them, which I knew, and I didn't think it was a big issue because they seemed like they clipped onto the fuel injectors just fine. But after I replaced all of the fuel injectors to the new upgraded ones, I kept having misfires on random cylinders, cylinder 1 and then cylinder 4, and then they would clear up and it would be fine after I would turn off the car. So I started looking more into it and I found out that all of the connectors, like the metal pins inside the connectors, were not making good contact with the fuel injectors. So as you can see in the picture, the old ones didn't really make contact. They only had like little tangs that came down, but the new ones make way better contact and they have the metal clips. So I got those connectors from K Suspension. They were super quick on getting those shipped out to me and I didn't film replacing them. Wiring is not fun to watch and I just got it knocked out. So you can see here all of the new wiring. And since I did that, I haven't had any misfire issues. So you might have the same problem. Definitely look at your fuel injector connectors and the metal pins inside. Make sure they are adequate. And if you need to, replace them. All right, so now that my fuel system is operating in tip-top shape and everything is how it should be, it's time to talk about the last thing that I feel is really important to your fuel economy, and that is related to your O2 sensors and your engine operating temperature, which some of this kind of falls under the first thing about upkeep and maintenance. Anyways, so let's talk about our O2 sensors and our operating temperature. So there is a ton of controversy over what the correct operating temperature is on a Jeep XJ. If you go do a quick search on forum pages, you'll find that everybody has different answers for this. But the posts that stick out the most for me are the ones that reference the factory service manual from Jeep. So what I have found is that the Jeep operating temperature is between 160 degrees Fahrenheit and 218 degrees Fahrenheit. Within that range, most Jeeps will operate between 195 and 210 all the time. And you know, it varies depending on the time of the year. If it's cold, if you live in Alaska and it's, you know, negative numbers, then your Jeep will run cooler. Or if you live in Florida where it's super hot all the time, you might run hotter all the time. With that being said, a lot of people get the engine operating temperature mixed up with the fuel economy. So people will say that because your engine is running at a cooler temperature, you are consuming more fuel and you have bad fuel economy. But in reality, that is not the case. So what I'm referring to is open and closed fuel system loop. So I found a forum post that really explains this very well. So I put links down in the description for all of these forum posts that I'm referencing. So if you're interested, you can go read up on it as well. So to keep things brief, open loop is when you first start up the vehicle, or once it's warmed up, if you accelerate, then it will go into open loop. So in open loop, the ECU uses information from all of the engine sensors except the O2 sensor to determine how much fuel the engine needs. Once the before cat O2 sensor reaches its operating temp, not the engine operating temp, the ECU switches from open to closed loop. When the ECU is in closed loop, it uses the before cat O2 sensor to determine how much fuel the engine needs. So a couple quick examples. In open loop, your engine is running rich. It's because you just either started it up after it's sitting overnight, or because you were demanding a lot from the engine, like climbing up a hill and you have that accelerator to the floor. Closed loop is when the O2 sensor is supplying the perfect amount of fuel for the engine to run optimally. So the more time you can stay in closed loop, the better you'll be. This is why when you do a lot of highway driving, you get better gas mileage. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to hook up my scan tool. We'll look at some live data from my Jeep as it warms up. We will see how quick it goes from open to closed loop, and we will see the coolant temperature and all of that related information. So let's hook up everything and we'll start it up and see how it looks. All right, so I'm sitting in the Jeep. I got everything hooked up. Key is on. I got my live data hooked up. I'll show you that in a second. So you can see here, everything's turned off. Engine is cool, and we can go through here the live data and I can show you. So you can see there's no information for the fuel system right now. Engine coolant temperature is 99. I did start it and pull it into the garage, and then as we scroll down, you can see engine RPM 0, intake air temperature 95. It is pretty hot today. It's about 90 degrees outside. And as we scroll down, we can see the rest of the information here. So what I'm going to do is we'll get to the one where we can see the fuel system, and we will start it up and we will see how quickly it can get to from open loop to closed loop. All right, you can see there it's already in closed loop and it's only been, not sure, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. I'll put a timer on the screen. And you can see there the engine temp is barely at 108 degrees, the coolant temp. So you can see there it goes from open to closed super quickly, and just because you have a low temperature doesn't mean that your fuel economy is bad. So the more time that your Jeep spends in a closed loop fuel system status, the better your miles per gallon are going to be. That means keeping your foot off the skinny pedal. Don't be flooring it everywhere you go. Just drive normal, and that will set yourself up for the best conditions, for the best fuel economy possible. I could definitely testify that now that I have taken into account everything that I've learned throughout this video, replaced those fuel injectors, fixed the wiring, did the spark plugs, did the maintenance, that my Jeep has better fuel economy. So at the beginning of the video, I said that it had 11.9 miles per gallon. It now has 13.8 miles per gallon, which is almost a 2 miles per gallon increase, which is a huge improvement, and I couldn't be happier with that. That means my fuel tank is taking me further. I'm saving some money, and it definitely makes me feel better that the Jeep is running better. Anyways, that is it for this video. Thank you for coming by, checking out what I have going on. Once again, I'm so sorry for the lack of content. I'm really gonna start getting the videos out. I have tons of things planned, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. It's gonna be awesome. So definitely hit that subscribe button, like, comment for the YouTube algorithm. Get out there, work on your projects, and don't forget to stay safe out there. We'll catch you next time.